Hello everybody and welcome to my new channel where we're here to talk about all things important in the world of football. And what do I mean by that? I mean good old Oxford United and a little bit of League One, as that is the league we are currently playing in. And as the season starts this weekend, I thought it was a good opportunity to start this channel with a good old-fashioned League One predictions video. So if you could hit like, and more importantly, if you could hit subscribe, I would appreciate it very much. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through each club in alphabetical order, and there's going to be timestamps down below in the description and on the bottom of the video itself, so you can jump to whichever club you support and see that, because I'm sure that's all you want to know is where your club in particular is going to finish. And you will find out very quickly that unless I'm talking about my beloved Oxford United, I know very little about your club. And I'm basing my knowledge of extensive research, which lasted about 30-second glance on each of your clubs. So be sure to put down in the comments that I know absolutely nothing and I've got it wrong. And I'm sure to read it. I probably won't. But let's not waste any more time. Let's jump straight into this video and let's start with Accrington Stanley. As you can see, I've jumped over here now, and on the side of the screen you can see a blank panel, and that is where we are going to be filling in the League One table as we go. So as I say, starting with Accrington, they finished in 11th place last season, and John Coleman continues to do an impressive job considering the budget that he has compared to all the other sides. It's got to be one of the smallest in the division. But they continue to be a git, and they continue to upset the odds and upset the form guide. And I have no doubt that Stanley will be in no trouble again this season. They have lost some key players, though. They have lost the likes of Sykes, Butcher and Bishop, but they still do have the impressive Michael Nottingham in defence and Sean McConville in midfield. It might be a bit of a struggle this season in terms of them finishing where they did last season. I think they might be a bit lower than that, but no problems at all about relegation. I have Aki in 16th place. Next we have Barnsley, and it was a dreadful season last season for the Tykes. They finished bottom of the championship, so they find themselves back in League One, and there has been a big turnover of players, including Morris and Woodrow leaving, so a lot of firepower there. And they've got a new manager in as well. Michael Duff, no longer at Cheltenham, is in charge at Barnsley now, and I do think he does have a big job on his hands. I know a lot of the Barnsley fans will be expecting promotion this season, but I'm just not convinced by them. League One is a bit of a git, and I think they were so bad last season. I just think it's going to be a bit of a transition season for them. They have brought in Norwood, who, if he can hit the ground running, is going to be capable of scoring a lot of goals for them. And Cundy and Cadden are very good signings as well. I just don't see them living up to the pre-season favourites tag that they have with the bookies. I see Barnsley coming in 9th, and I'm sure all you Tykes fans will flood the comments, but just remember, it's only my opinion. Next we have Bolton Wanderers, and Bolton were really impressive last season. They ended up finishing 9th, but they were in with a good shout of the playoffs pretty much all the way through, and I can see Ian Everett's side building on that this season. They're going to be one of the best footballing sides in the division. They played some great football last season. I remember when they beat us 3-2 at the Kassam Stadium in an extremely entertaining game. So if you're a Bolton fan, expect a very entertaining season from your sides. With the likes of Afolayan, Charles, Bakayoko, Bodvarsson, they have got plenty of goals in their side, and I do expect the Trotters to be higher up the table this season, and I actually think they're going to be challenging for the automatic spots, but I think they're going to be just outside of it, and they're going to have to go into the lottery of the playoffs, but they are a good each way bet for promotion if you are going to do any League One betting, in my opinion, and I think Bolton are going to finish in 3rd place. Next is Bristol Rovers, and I'm sure we're all glad to see Joey Barton and Bristol Rovers back in League One. We thought we'd got rid of them, but they're back. And they did it by having an excellent second half to last season. They stormed up League Two and they got promotion on the final day in one of the, to quote Kamara, unbelievable circumstances on the final day of the season with that goal turnaround that they had. What was it, an 8-0 win, something like that? You'll remind me of it down in the comments. I'm sure Rovers fans. There's not a lot of love lost between Oxford United and Bristol Rovers, so I can't say that I wish the Gas all a lot of luck. But I do think the squad is pretty decent. I do think Rovers will have no problem surviving and doing quite well in League One this season. They brought in John Marquis, and if he can rediscover his goal-scoring touch, then he could prove to be a fantastic signing for them. Also, they got Connolly in there as well, which I think is a very good signing for them. But just looking through it again, I just don't think they're going to have any problems for Rovers. I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be just below the halfway point, and I've got Bristol Rovers finishing in 13th place. Next, we have Burton Albion, and all you can describe them with is, say, solid and unspectacular. This is what Burton are. It's what they've been for a while. I don't see that Jimmy Hasselbank's really changed it too much. The style of football they're going to play. They're going to be direct. They're going to be hit teams with a lot of long throw-ins and set pieces into the box and try and get the ball up front quickly and play with a lot of power. Adebayo could be a useful signing for them and could be an injection of goals that they really need, as the Brewers were one of the lowest goal scorers in League One last season. I think it's going to be a lower half of the league, but again, no relegation threats for the Brewers. I think they're going to be in 15th place. Next, we have Cambridge United. And for anybody else out there outside of Oxford and Cambridge, just know these aren't rival clubs. Cambridge are not a rival of Oxford United, vice versa. So we can put that one to bed straight away. But I do think it's going to be a tough year for the fake U's. We know who the real U's are. I think Mark Bonner did a good job guiding this side to 14th place, and they had a brilliant cup run in there as well. I think they knocked out Newcastle, didn't they? With a wonderful away day there. But I do think they're going to miss Houlihan, and they're going to miss Eardale as well. And they're going to have to rely on Sam Smith having another strong season in front of goal. They do need to bring in some players. They do need to bring in some loan signings as well, just to strengthen up the squad. I do see Cambridge surviving, but only just by the skin of their teeth. I have Cambridge finishing in 20th place. Charlton Athletic, and I find this one really difficult to predict. I just do not know what to expect from this Charlton side. They never really got going last season, did they, Addicts fans? It was a bit of a miserable season. Just spluttering, never really got going, never really threatened the playoffs at all, and you were probably looking down the league rather than up the league for most of the season. They do have a new manager in, though. They have Ben Garner in. While I never think it's a good idea to pick a manager from Swindon, what are you doing? I have to begrudgingly say that he did a very good job with Swindon Town last season. But Charlton have had a big turnover of players. But with Jayden Stockley still in the ranks, they still have plenty of goals in the side. But I need to see it from Charlton before I'm going to start believing in them. And I just I don't really have any evidence to put them anywhere else other than mid-table. So let me know, Addicts fans. Let me know what to expect from you, what you're hoping for. I'm sure you're hoping for a better season to be challenging up there the playoffs. But I'm putting Charlton middle of the pack. I'm putting them in 12th. Next, we have Cheltenham Town. Oh boy, here we go. Last season, Cheltenham finished in 15th place, and they had a really good season for the Robins. But I think this is going to be their final year in League One. And this is the first side I'm having as getting relegated. Unfortunately, Michael Duff has gone. He did a really good job there, but he's gone to manage Barnsley, as we said earlier. And they bring in the inexperienced Wade Elliott into the role. They will be very reliant on Alfie May again to score them a lot of goals. And they'll be very reliant on the home form because they were pretty poor away. They'll be very reliant on their home form at the Johnny Rock Stadium if they're going to have any chance of beating the drop. But I don't think that there's too much quality in this Cheltenham side. And unfortunately, I have them finishing in 21st place. Here we go then, Derby County side. All eyes will be on the Rams at the start of this season, won't they? With the future of the club no longer in jeopardy, which is amazing news for their fans who've had to suffer so much off the field crap with crap ownership. they can finally look forward to a season where they're concentrating with things on the field as opposed to worrying of off the field activities. We all know about what's happened at Derby, so we don't need to go in the ins and the outs of it. And they are a club who is far too big to be in League One. They find themselves slumming it with the likes of Oxford United, who they play on the opening day of the season. And when they drew Oxford on the opening day, Wayne Rooney decided that's enough for me. I can't take the pressure of Oxford. I am out of here. So he has gone, and Liam Rosenior is in charge for now. But Derby have wasted no time in strengthening their squad, bringing in quality players on what seems like a daily basis. So by the time you watch this, they'll probably have an even stronger squad than what I've seen on, when I've started recording it. The likes of Chester, McGoldrick, Collins, Hourihane, couldn't say that name, are all players that are probably a bit too good for League One, and Derby will be thinking that they should absolutely walk this league. But as the likes of Sunderland, Wednesday, Ipswich, Pompey, whoever you like, can attest, League One just ain't that easy, and everybody's going to be going to Derby, including Oxford, on the opening day, thinking it's a bit of a cup final, seeing it as a big prize scalp that they will want to take, and a real memory, could be the only great memory of the season for a lot of clubs. So the Derby will certainly have to put up with a lot of that, and they'll have to put up with the pressure of wanting promotion, where Pride Park could turn into a place where it's not fun to play, where the pressure of having 30,000 fans might be too heavy a burden for the players to deal with, and for the manager to deal with. So I do think they'll do well, obviously, and excuse the old badge that I'm going to put in here in a second. But I think Derby will be in the playoffs. I don't think they'll get automatic, so they're in the lottery, but I think Derby will finish fourth. Next, we have Exeter City, and after years of playoff misery, Exeter decided, let's just not deal with the playoffs, let's go up automatic, and they did it. They nearly won the league, but they ended up finishing second. Matt Taylor remains in charge, and it's a relatively unchanged side from last season. Exeter were good at the back, but other than Matt J, they didn't really score a huge amount of goals, and I haven't seen that they've really strengthened the squad that much. So that makes me think that the Grecians are going to struggle unless they bring in some reinforcements. I think that they're going to be found a little bit short in League One, and I think it's going to be one season and out for the Grecians, and I see them as the second side getting relegated. I have them in 22nd place. Next we come to Fleetwood Town, and the Cod Army stayed up last season on goal difference, and they look a far cry from the side that got in the playoffs under Joy Barton a few years ago. They brought in Scott Brown as manager. Really bold and interesting choice. Obviously a wonderful player. Really interesting to see how he goes with this Fleetwood side. I think it could be a really good appointment, but he does have a huge job on his hands. They have brought in some good offensive players like Morton and Vela, but scoring goals was not really the problem for Fleetwood last season. It was in defence, and they haven't really addressed that as I'm speaking at the moment. They might bring some more players in, but I just think it's going to be another really hard year for Fleetwood. I don't see them getting relegated, but I just don't see it being anything other than a relegation struggle. But I do think they'll survive, and they'll finish in 18th place. League is taking shape, but we still haven't had who is going to be promoted yet. Is it going to be this next side? Is it going to be Forest Green Rovers? No, it's not. The Cod Army, though, are playing in League One for the first time. They had the best season in Forest Green's history. They won League Two. They pretty much had it in the bag. They nearly threw it away, but they got the job done. And as I said, they will be playing in League One for the first time. But manager Rob Edwards jumped ship pretty soon after the season. So new boss Ian Birchnell will be in charge of this overtaking of Fleetwood, who is obviously a massive step up in quality. Not huge, but big enough from League Two to League One. They have lost some key players, though. They have lost Wilson, Cadden and Coville, but they still have Matty Stevens, who scored 27 goals for them last season, and Jamil Matt, who scored 20. So plenty of firepower there, and they probably will need it. And they have brought in some useful players as well, but I do think it is still going to be a relegation battle for Forest Green Rovers, but I do think it's one they are going to overcome. And I have them surviving their first season in League One and finishing in 19th place. One of the big boys coming up now in Ipswich Town. There's not a lot of love lost between Oxford fans and Ipswich Town fans. I don't share that though. I had a problem with them at all. A lot of it comes from, well, we know what it comes from. It comes from them thinking Oxford cheated because we played out a 0-0 draw. But hey, it is what it is. We do seem to be locked in draws when we play Ipswich Town. It just didn't work for the Tractor Boys under Paul Cook last season. And by the time they got him out and got a manager in who could do some good with the quality that they had, they just had too much ground to gain on the playoffs, and they finishing outside of them. But there is so much quality in this Ipswich side, and Jackson has made them a very organised side, very hard to beat. They're going to remind me so much of what Alex Neil did with Sunderland last season, where they're so solid and they just will be hard to score against, and they'll have enough quality just to pick sides off. Ladapo and Harness coming in, two very good players that will have a lot of League One quality to this side. And if you keep backing them to get promoted, I guess eventually you will be right. I seem to always back Ipswich. They always seem to let me down, but I am backing them again. So sound the alarm. Well done, Ipswich fans. I do think you've got the right manager in there now to get the job done. I think Ipswich will get an automatic promotion place. They won't win the league. I've got Ipswich in second. And we move on to those pesky imps of Lincoln City, who definitely underachieved last season. Like a few clubs I've talked about, just never really got going. They had far too much quality for where they finished in the end. And Michael Appleton paid the price for it, and he has been replaced by Mark Kennedy. And they're going to just look to add a bit of consistency into a side. To be fair, had a lot of rotten luck with injuries, which didn't help with them finding consistency and getting the season going. Bridcut and Marquis, who didn't do much at Lincoln, to be fair, and Bramall are losses to the squad, but they still have a strong spine with the likes of Anthony Scully, who was immense for them last season, and City will be happy that they've kept hold of them. I do think it's going to be better for Lincoln City, but I still think they'll be hovering around the mid-table places rather than higher up, and I've got Lincoln finishing in 14th place. A side who came very close to being promoted last season were MK Dons. They played some of the best football in League One last season, but ultimately they didn't get promoted and they lost out to Wycombe Wanderers in the playoffs. Liam Manning has got a rebuilding job to do after losing two key, massive players, really, in Harry Darling and Scott Twine. Scott Twine especially, but he did get a lot of money for those two players. Will Grigg is in the side now to add a bit of firepower. Nathan Holland as well, who was at Oxford last season. I can tell you he's a good player, but he is an inconsistent winger. I do think that they are going to suffer from losing those two players, and it's going to be a little bit of a hangover from not going up last season. They will continue to entertain, but I just don't think they'll be really close to getting in the playoffs, but they will just miss out as well. Bit of bias, as you will see, coming into this one as well. But I have the MK Dons finishing just outside the playoffs in 7th place. Next, we have Morecambe, and Morecambe did an amazing job. No one really gave them a chance staying up in League One last season. They finished 19th. It was a battle all the way through, but it was a brilliant achievement. Derek Adams will have his work cut out, though, if they're going to do it again. They pretty much relied on Cole Stockton, who had just one of the most fabulous seasons, scored a wonderful array of goals. Go and check out his highlight reel. Some of the goals he scored were just unreal last season. He pretty much carried this side, and he'll pretty much need to carry them again if they've got any chance of staying up. But just don't see that happening 2 times in a row, and it's just an overall lack of quality and a side that conceded 88 goals last season. But I think Morecambe will be the side that finishes bottom. Sorry, Morecambe fans. seasons. I do have you in 24th place. Maybe there's still a little bit of bias in me, quite a lot of bias in me, from that very nasty defeat you handed us at the end, near the end of last season, which pretty much ended Oxford's playoff hopes. But that is surely not the only reason, probably a big reason, why I have you in last place. Here we are then, folks. Here we are. We're here to talk about the greatest side in world football. It is time for Oxford United. Book yourselves in for a 20-minute lesson on why Oxford United are so great and why they're going to piss League One this season. Okay, all right, I won't do that much. But anyway, Oxford have been knocking on the door of promotion for a few seasons now, got on in the playoffs 2 out of the last 3 seasons. It didn't quite happen for us last season. League One was pretty nuts with the points tally, and we just kind of ran out of steam at the end of last season and ended up finishing in 8th place. Luke McNally leaving is probably the biggest loss we've had. He was a great player. Would love to have seen him staying for another season, but we've got some good money for him. Ryan Williams and Mark Sykes are also players that have left, and we were a bit worried about players coming in, but the quality signings have started to arrive, better late than never, with Findlay and Wildschut. Probably saying that wrong. Probably should have looked up how to say it before I did this video. Are very promising signings, and Kieran Brown was impressive on loan from us last season. So we've signed him too. Some of the players that we've re-signed or kept hold of, though, have been as good as signings for Oxford. The fact Cam Brannigan is still there is massive. Elliot Moore, Sam Baldock, Billy Bowden, Henry and Goran are players that we have re-signed, and they're all going to be very important first-team players. Expect Oxford to score a lot of goals and be very entertaining. My biggest worry is if Carl Robinson fixed the back line. That was our biggest problem last season, was conceding too many goals and not keeping clean sheets. They were a real premium last season. I'm not convinced that has been completely sorted. We'll have to wait and see. But do expect entertainment from the Yellows, and this is a lot of bias. But if you can't be biased towards your own club, who the hell can you be biased towards? I'm optimistic for this new season now. I think Oxford will get in the playoffs once again, nicking in that final playoff spot. 6th place for Oxford United. Unlucky Peterborough United. You have to follow Oxford United, so the energy levels have dropped back down from me. But it was a tough season for the Posh last season, and their stay in the Championship only lasted 1 season as they finished in 22nd place. Darren Ferguson has left again, so expect him to come back in a few months, but Grant McCann is there for now. But they've not really made any signings of note, but they do have undoubted firepower with the likes of Clark Harris, with Marriott and with Smodics. They're players that have been good at this level before, so no doubt we'll be good again. But going forward was not the problems. Like a few sides we've mentioned, it was conceding goals last season. 88 goals conceded last season in the Championship though, so you would expect that to be better in League One this time around. I might be wide of the mark here, but I do think the Posh will miss out on the playoffs here. I got them finishing just outside. Look, last season, you could throw a blanket over anybody that finished from like 4th right the way down to like 10th. So to say a side finishes 10th, 12th is probably not going to be many points away from the playoffs anyway. And probably Peterborough will not be far away. But I do have them finishing outside. I have them in 8th place. Coming into the home stretch now, aren't we? We've only got a few places to go. Who is going to get that all-important top spot? There's still a relegation spot in there as well, and a playoff spot too. And we come to Plymouth Argyle. Heartbreaking for the Pilgrims last season. They missed out on the playoffs on the final day of the season with a stupid amount of points, which probably would have got them into the playoffs at any other year in League One. But that's the way it was. But they were one of the most entertaining sides last season. They had such pace on the counter-attack. They were really real joy to watch. Stephen Schumacher really didn't miss a beat, really, taking over the club halfway through the season. They're largely unchanged from last season, but I don't think that's going to hold anything against them. They probably will bring in some additions, especially on loan. But they've still got Jeffcott, they've still got Hardy, they've still got Camera, and they've still got plenty others providing a lot of quality. I think the Green Army are going to make the playoffs, so I think they are the final side to get into the playoffs. In my list, anyway. They're going to take that 5th spot. Congratulations, Green Army. It was heartbreaking for you last season, but you will make it this time. 5th place for Plymouth. Another newly promoted side in Port Vale, and the whole of Oxfordshire, believe me when I say this, Vale fans, the whole of Oxfordshire was delighted that you knocked Swindon out of the playoffs. Oh, it was such a beautiful day. And then they went and backed it all up with a win at Wembley too. Darryl Clark has his work cut out. Again, I've said that a few times. If he's going to keep the Valiants up in League One this season, Ben Garrity and Jamie Proctor will need to have another excellent season, the pair of them, if they're going to have any chance. But they haven't really brought in any new recruits, so it's very difficult to see how they're going to compete in League One, and I don't really think they are going to, and they're going to fill in the final relegation spot on this list. 23rd place is going to Port Vale. Portsmouth are next, another huge side in this league. 10th place for Pompey last season. I felt like it was going to be a transitional season for them, and it proved to be under Cowley, who will have more scrutiny on him this time around. And I'm still not fully convinced by him, by the Temple Cowley brothers. And if you're from Oxfordshire, you'll realise what a hilarious joke that is. Look, Marcus Harness leaving is a big blow, but they have brought in Marlon Pack, who is a quality player that will come in and certainly add quality to that midfield. Piggott has come in as well, which kind of leads me to think Pompey are going to be very direct as well. He's a bit of a target man-like striker. And with the likes of Curtis and with the likes of Tunnicliffe, I should say the crybaby, Ronan Curtis, they still do have undoubted quality in this team, and they could finish higher than what I am giving them. Again, I'm just not convinced. And a bit like Charlton, I need to kind of see it before I believe it in this Portsmouth side. Portsmouth fans will probably take great joy in telling me what a fool I am for having them this low, but I am having Pompey finishing in 11th place. It's time for some Sheffield Wednesday, and like the likes of Ipswich Town, like the likes of Derby County, they are far too big to be in this division. They didn't get the job done last season, but they really built up a lot of momentum in the back half of the season, and they really were one of the form sides. It was only a really narrow semi-final defeat to Sunderland, who I thought were really the only side in that playoffs who could have stopped them, which cost Wednesday from going any further and getting up through the playoffs. For my money, they are the strongest side in League One this season, and they've only strengthened in the summer and got rid of some of the dead wood. The only real question marks are still over Darren Moore and whether he can keep the fans on side, because they're never too far away from turning on him and turning on what they perceive as Tinkerman tactics. But in Barry Bannon, they still have probably the best player in League One, and in Lee Gregory, they do have an impressive striker. But some of the players they brought in as well, Ikehwiri and Smith from Rotherham, butchering the first name, but he's a superb defender, and Smith is a very powerful striker as well as Volks and Hannigan and Stockdale in goal from Wycombe. They've certainly strengthened in all areas from what I can see, and I can only put Sheffield Wednesday at the top of the league. I think they're going to get it done at the second time of asking. Wednesday as champions, congratulations, all you Wednesday fans, you're finishing in top spot. 2 to come, folks. 2 left. 2 spots to fill. And they're 2 mid-table spots as well. So we've got Shrewsbury Town. Look, it was a really dull season for Shrewsbury last season. There's like a lot of clubs that never really got it going. They did have problems with injuries. And I do think they were probably a better club than where they finished. I don't see a huge amount of stuff changing this time around. And Cottrell is doing a solid enough job. They have brought some good players though. It's Shipley, Dunkley, if they can keep Dunkley fit, he's a real walking injury-prone player. Bayliss and O'Brien, and they've got goals in the side as well with Bowman and Uda as well. So there shouldn't really be any relegation problems, but I just don't see them finishing any like a lower, you can see where I've got them in the league. You can see where the gaps are. I'm putting Shrewsbury in 17th place. And last, and therefore in this case definitely least, we come to Wycombe Wanderers, beaten playoff finalists last season. Who enjoyed seeing Wycombe getting beaten in the playoffs? Look, I'm only joking. Wycombe fans still know why I'm still bitter about that. But also, it was a bit of a weird one, wasn't it? It was kind of good for me to see Wycombe not go up, but it does mean we've got to play those buggers again this season. And they are a git of a side to play against. A couple of really good players have left though. Stockdale in goal and Anthony Stewart, who is a real thorn in the side of Oxford United. Always plays well against us. Leaving has left the Chairboys a little bit vulnerable, and I haven't really seen that they've made any significant signings, but they've still got Vokes up front, still got Tafazoli, still got Jacobson, so they've still got plenty of solid players and plenty of quality in the side. And as I always say about Wycombe, there's no side that I think that marches to the tune of their manager's drum more than Wycombe Wanderers. How Ainsworth always has his side extremely well drilled, and while I don't think they will finish in the playoffs this time around, and a lot of Wycombe fans will probably think 10th is too low. I don't see many points between 10th and, as I said, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, whatever. I just think that's where Wycombe will finish this time around. Wycombe rounding out my League One predictions by finishing in 10th place. There it is, folks. That is my League One predictions done. Thank you very much for watching. No doubt you are watching. Watched the video and thought, this guy doesn't know anything other than Oxford United. Well, you're bloody onto something there. But let me know down in the comments, and I promise, I'm not going to promise. I probably won't reply, but comment anyway. But more importantly, do hit like, hit subscribe. I'll be back with some more Oxford United reviews of their games as we go through this season, and some videos about League One as we go too. And if there's anything else you'd like me to cover, let me know down in the comments. Thank you once again. I will see you very soon.